Welcome back. Welcome back. I realized in my last video I needed to increase the sound of my voice, but I'm so used to speaking in this, what they call it, baritone or whatever it is. So I'll try to do my best in this video. My name is Lumi, for those that are new to my channel, and the pre-existing users, you already, know who I am and what I'm about. Excuse me. I always start by what's the word? The energy forecast. It's still intense, but it's not as intense as it used to be normally, but it's still intense. And for me, I'm experiencing this intensity in the upper body, especially with the back, with the amount of load that I'm carrying, the soul is carrying on my journey. Even these loads that, it's not even mine, you know. So you often see me address my shoulders and also the pain. There's a lot of pain in the body because the system, when it's open, we're just absorbing a lot of pain, even the pain that is others, because of, you know, the stories of no boundaries and all of that conversation, all of that story. But that's kind of like the energy forecast. And also in Minnesota, something drastic happened yesterday where some children were shot at in, I think, in the church. So that's kind of like keeping the energy a little bit also unstable, and this sense of fear in the atmosphere. But we're still all trying to transmute and dance through all of that and hold compassion and pray for those that were involved or those that were even close to that scenario. And I don't even want to go down that conversation about all of those agendas and all of that, because it's just too deep to dive into now. I think what's more important is the topic of today, and if the topic of today connects to that as the channel is flowing, let's go with it. And this is one of the reasons why I say in my last video, in all my videos, I always say that we should continue to pray for peace within, peace without, peace globally, peace in the world, because this type of prayers help with shaping the morphogenic field, the resonance, the biofield of not only us individually, but also collectively, and even the universe, state, country, and that level. So this is one of the reasons why I keep saying that. And I guess you can look at it that it could have been worse, and maybe the prayers that we're all praying, because I know there are a group of people too that are also into this type of program of meeting every 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 12 p.m., and just praying and meditating with one collective agenda of opening hearts and unconditional love and peace to spread in the world. So I know I just went off right now. That's why I said I didn't want to go, because it's so deep and dark, and it's just too much. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, the actual topic that I thought was going to come up was more unconditional love. But then I saw that my soul pushed that away, and then I saw that silence is a very important topic to be brought up. It's a very interesting topic, and if there's anything that I will claim or attach to myself that I'll sell, it's silence. Typically, I'm back in my office. You're always going to find a tree around me, always around me somewhere to, this is where the nervous systems begins to regulate and feel safer to ground and also reflect, because it's all about reflection, right? Mirroring into our existence. I'm just going on and on. Anyways, let's stick to the silence. The silence conversation that I wanted to talk about, I hear people, they say this thing in different forms. Some speak about it in this old spirituality perspective, of silence as awareness and being present, being in the moment. There are different ways it plays out, but I'm a little bit different from the way that I see it, because in awareness I still believe that there's still somebody there that is looking out or watching or observing what's going on. There's still one person there looking there. So that's why I lean away from awareness than silence, because when it's silence, there's nothing there. Excuse me. And about 4 years ago, this is when it came into my system. I got into that, should I call it, I integrated that aspect of my perspective, of my soul. As I was praying, I was in Egypt back then, I was in Luxor, and I was praying. And I was asking, I was just asking, because I kept on always praying to God to help me on my journey, to help me with deepening this relationship with my body, with myself, with my spirit, with my soul. I just kept on praying. And then all of a sudden, I just said, be quiet, be still, silence. And it was something that had never been introduced to me by anyone before, even though I was still meditating, I was used to meditating, but this concept of silence was now newly introduced into my system. Could be that it was the gridlock, it was the grid of the pyramids in Luxor that probably helped through the connections of my Cyrus beings, that thing was able to get installed easily in my system. So when that silence ideology came into mind, I now started to observe, everything that was going on. And then I now started to learn and got deeper with God, understanding that before I even pray or ask for anything, He already knows what I need and what I want. So what's the point of praying? Because that was the only thing I kept on, that broke my silence for. And so during that journey, as I started to keep quiet and I started to let things just happen, I now started to observe also how the thoughts and the emotions kept coming in. And you see, sometimes I get attached to it. Sometimes that silence is being held and withheld within. And so those thoughts or those emotions just simply move by, And it's not perfect, because there are times I'll get jumped into the story. And that's why I always say that truly, wisdom can be a thief of joy. I always say that, because when you are sitting in silence and then you are just enjoying the moment and in the flow, an idea of something that a concept that you may want to learn will want to take you away from that silence and bring you into a mental state of seeking one form of information or knowledge to help you do whatever it is that you're wanting, or to help you feel some type of way about yourself, whatever it is. So that's why I say wisdom can be a stealer of joy, even though within wisdom itself is also the creation of identity of the soul. It's possible. That's why I put a maybe there. And silence is really overrated. It's really overrated. And if I had to start a school to teach children anything, I'll just teach them silence. I'm not even going to say teach, because you can't teach what they already know. But if there's anything that I will help to cultivate with them, it's just owning their silence. So when that silence is done, and silence occurs in different ways, you can see in different aspects of how silence is being used. So for example, in Christianity, in religious beliefs, that when we are praying, they say close your eyes so that you do not have distractions while you are praying, so that you are focused into yourself and what you are praying to God for, right? So in there, you are shutting out the distractions and only one point of focus, which is from your heart, mind to God, right? And so in there also is you are silencing your vision to go within, and then limiting the engagement of all the senses. But when you now take it to the next step, or to some other level or perspective that is new, because it can be new to somebody, it can be, for me, it's the next level, because being grown up in the religious background, closing my eyes to pray is the norm. But for someone that was brought up in a system whereby, okay, you got to open your eyes and be silent and just observe. To them, it may just be new. And to them now, when they see me praying and closing my eyes, they may say this is another different perspective. It's all tomatoes, you know what I'm saying? But so back to this silence, and silence is so beautiful that I'm even trying to explain it now. It's impossible to explain because it's like water in that. When you're pouring water into your palms, you can't even grasp the water itself because silence is unexplainable. You know, when you're in a conversation with someone, you see that some people that they can't keep quiet around you. They are very uncomfortable with silence. People find it very put it in a discomfort state when there's silence in the room because they'll feel that they need to speak to cover up something, which is something that I observed too on my own journey, that you always want to keep speaking and speaking over to avoid the inconveniences, which is where the opportunity of deepening the relationship could be. But then chattery is being tossed over that as a replacement of the bond. And the level of deepness, especially even with yourself, that one can attain just by being silent and watching. And that's how, to be honest, I've been able to move through some of these challenging experiences that I've had. Most time I've been keeping silent, but then maybe too silent too can be also something you have to be careful about, that you don't get stepped over a lot. So in my own challenging relationships, whereby when I was sharing my story, like the different relationships, like which I'll get deeper into as I journey more into the channel, where I had to get through a lot of toxic relationships, that my own story was not told. It was just one aspect of the story was expressed to those that were interested in understanding what was going on. And there was a call within me, there was a fire that was burning inside of me that made me feel the need to go and explain and prove my point, to let me be seen, so that they would not think that this is who I am, or not just judge me by hearing one side of the story. But then I realized this, luckily for me, this silence program was already running within me. So then I said, what again then? What is God told me? And this is what I got. But what's the point of telling your story when God knows the truth? God knows what happened. And that's the most important person that needs to know, because at the end of the day, when it's time for you to check out of the planet, that's the person you're going to answer to. It took me a long place to get there, but I'm gracefully thankful that He made it easy for me to accept that lesson. And that's something that patience can also engrave into your skin. So one of the things that I want to do in the future, the plan on part of my project, is to sit with children or sit with adults, and we just keep quiet and silence and stillness. And we enjoy that, because what is being said could be less impactful than what is being felt. It could be. Even though we are in a society whereby it's more of thinking and words than feeling, nurturing the heart, the emotions. So we are now changing into that new paradigm of this new era of information, of feeling into the body. And that's what silence really begets. That's what silence gives birth to. Silence allows you to feel, because there won't be any need to think. This is turned off, you're dropped in, and then you're sitting with it. And so even in meditation, especially when it's not guided meditation, that's still the same achievement that is obtained there. So, but the only difference is that you are carving a specific time out to meditate. But if you make it a way of being, a natural state of mind, the natural state of being, then this silence becomes everything. Because if you listen and observe to most relationships, people want to be heard. They already have the answers with them. Everybody has the answers. Everybody has their own connection to God. Everybody knows their higher self. So if they are looking for help, you just listening and not providing a solution through that silent presence can also foster this relationship for them with themselves just by listening. So yeah, and the whole ideology is two concepts: silence within self, silence in a relationship. And doesn't necessarily mean you have to be silent all the time, but you understand what I mean by silence in a relationship. So once you've been able to hold your own silence and maintain your own vibration and understand the signature of your soul, the frequency that you're emitting and broadcasting, which is of peace and love and unconditional love, and someone is coming in that is in need, or that is coming in that wants to bond, that frequency which you are emitting from your field, not by influencing them by thoughts or emotion, they also can get the ripple effect of that. And within themselves, you are acting as a mirror to whatever it is that they are trying to find out. And they will see that within themselves. And that fosters independence. That fosters unity. That fosters respect. And that fosters confidence. That fosters, I can go down the list of all of that. Because if you look at it, you find yourself in, we find most of this coaching, mentors, all of this is trying to make you a better person. But most people, we rely on someone, rely on something to give us that silence. And truly, if you dissect silence down to the nitty-gritty, what is it? It's peace. It's just peace. So let's practice this now. There's 17 minutes. Let's see what 1 minute of silence, which is ironically what we say for people that were mourning. Let's see how it feels. As you sat with me with that 1 minute and through that process, examine what you feel within yourself in that moment. And not looking at me, looking at what's coming within, and looking at the reflection of what is coming up and the ideology of what that is sparkling into you. And as day goes by, we begin to expand this from 1 minute to 5 minutes, 5 minutes to 10 minutes. And then before we know it, we are doing without our gadgets, and we only use our gadgets when it's too necessary, and we remain with ourselves. Even as I was sitting down, you could see that there was so much tension still in the body. But it was being released because I was feeling it and I was adjusting to it. And even the jaw, the TMJ was reacting to all of these. That's the beauty of silence. And so me, when I come here, I'm coming using this platform with the intent of being true to myself, integrity, hoping that that would resonate with you too, to an extent, to know that regardless of whatever one has experienced, regardless of whatever one has achieved, regardless of whatever one identifies as, right? When at the end of the day, silence is still the most valuable thing one can have. Because when you sit with the most wealthiest person in the world, and you sit with the most poor person in the world, so a few things that they have in common. They can they're silent. One will tell you that I have problems. One will tell you that I have a lot of money. But how many will tell you that I own and I can afford to be silent? So for someone like me that has a very sensitive system, it has really helped me to process a lot of stuff, helped me to move through things. So I don't even, and I want you to please understand this, that this silence that I'm trying to explain, it's impossible for me to explain it. I can't. There's no words to it. Because as I'm even trying, as much as like I'm hitting my head on a glass, because words can't express what needs to be felt. It's love. It's oneness with yourself, one with the universe, one with God. And you're quiet. You are not speaking from anything. Because if you are speaking from something as what you are as a man, as a woman, as a this, as a that. You're silent. You're not speaking as you're just there. You're not judging anyone. Everyone is welcome and everyone is accepted. And that's really what the human connection is really all about. Having to connect to the depth of our beings within our soul to get an impact, to cause the evolution of the soul to achieve its destiny. Yeah. So I hope with this my 23 minutes talk that I'm able to spark some sort of silence that I hope you already have, that I know you were born with, because we were all born with this. We were all born. You know, in the Bible it says, before you were born, I knew who you were. That in that ideology, that word that he spoke in the spiritual context was that you have been formed before you came to this planet. The identity of who you were already existed before you were birthed into this planet. And there's nothing God creates that is not perfect in his eyes, even though we understand that perfection is just a story. But you get my drift. So one way to go back into that is, I'm not this man, not this woman, not this culture, I'm not this race, I'm not this gender. All of that just kind of latches on to different attachments that we form identities on. So yeah, thank you for watching, for spending your 20 something minutes with me. It's very important that to me to thank you for that, because you could be doing anything, like Jesus said, you could be anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here. So, and as you see me, I'm beginning to unwind. I'm getting looser in terms of my videos more, because there's more integration that is now happening in the system, more understanding, more acceptance of some of these intense energies that we are really experiencing. And so yeah, and it's interesting though that yeah, we're we're in it, and we're all in it together. We're going to the same place by God's grace, which is to achieve peace, achieve what we all came here to do, our purpose, and fulfill our destiny. So thank you again for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. And please, there's one last thing I always beg you for. Please, just when you wake up in the morning with your dragon breath, it's even the best time. With your dragon breath, with the fire in that breath, just pray for that peace. For yourself, for your world, for the country. Just 1 minute. It's very impactful. I'm telling you, you don't have the idea. It is very, very impactful. Just pray for peace within, pray for peace without, pray for peace in the country that you're in, the continent that you're in, other continents, the universe, the world, and pray for God too. Because people always forget this important thing there, that people think God does not need prayer. This is another deep conversation that I'll pick up on later. So, there's this concept that they say be grateful and thankful and thank God for everything. But people forget that even though God is not human, God is also experiencing all these things that are going on in the world. And this is God's creation that are doing this thing. So even in the Bible, the Holy Scripture, they said God once wept with what he saw by the hands of man. I think it was in the early books of Genesis in the Old Testament. So God feels, but we don't understand the level at which he or she, depends on how you see God, processes all these experiences. There are people killing in the name of God. There are people destroying things in the name of God. There are people blessing people in the name of God. So all of this is all being done under the name of God. And imagine, think for just a few seconds, think outside of what you want from God and think that, what does God want from me? Yeah? Not what I want from, what does God want from me? Or God, how are you doing? You know what I'm saying? With all these things that is going on, how are you doing? What is going on? Rather than, let me not go into that. But this ideology, this topic that I just brought up is something that I'll go back into later in the video, the series. And I hope it's this season 2, because this is the second episode for season 2. But pray for God too. Pray. Because imagine you're a father or a mother and you give birth to a child, and the child begins to do things that are against your principles. And as the child is doing it, you feel ashamed because the child is doing something wrong, or something that you did not instill into the child when you were bringing the child up. Have that imagination. Then now, sit with the thought that God's perception is even deeper, way more deeper than we can ever perceive. So imagine that. And that doesn't mean you should put a lot of pressure on yourself or judge yourself for the experience. It's just for you to it's just that I'm just trying to let you see this, just see this perspective of God. And if you see, look at the clouds behind me, look at that. What is that from? So yeah, I think I've taken a lot of your time. Thank you so much. And hopefully I'll be able to drop another episode this week. And I'm hoping this energy begins to get stable more, so that the Kundalini channels can be able to be part of the solution rather than being part of the challenges. So thank you again.